Hi, this is Curly Off-Road Adventures. My name is Darren, and we're finally doing the long-awaited vehicle filming to actually show you guys what's been done to this vehicle. Now, I've done the initial filming of the original build, and since then we've made a considerable amount of changes. So now we're just going to be showing you that today. But basically, I think before we get anywhere, I'll just give you a basic rundown. This is a 2015 dual cab Landcruiser 79 series V8. It was purchased in 2015 in November. It was manufactured in November. Where I ordered it. It didn't arrive until February, March 2016, and the reason for those two things, obviously orders do take a while to get here. The other thing is that we had a lot of modifications done and second stage manufacturing improvements or upgrades that needed to be done prior to first registration. So although 15 model, it's actually 16, but it's pre-DPF, so no DPF. Although the bonnet does look like it is a DPF model, it's not. As far as the vehicle is concerned, stock standard GXL from Toyota. We added the air conditioning as a extra. And that's pretty well it. After that, it went off to get a lift done, bar work done, suspension upgrades obviously as well for the GVM. We also did a brake upgrade, the braided lines upgrade, the booster upgrades, etc, etc. And then finally, when all that was done, Bull Motor Body built this canopy for us up here in Brisbane. If you want to see the original image, I will post it on here, or you can even go to Bull Motor Body. They do have a photo of my car there. The canopy is pretty well down to here only. Once it gets below that point, the canopy is no longer Bull Motor Body, and nor is the back end, but we'll go into more detail. As far as the rest of the vehicle is concerned, yes, I do purchase parts, obviously to build it, but I do probably 90% of any of the build on this vehicle myself. In particular in electrics, I do all of that myself. That's 100% myself. I just find that there's a lot of people out there who do not do electrics well, and that leads to or results in car fires or failures, in particular in extreme rough surfaced areas or poor road conditions. So I'll let you see the original build. So the original build you will see on your screen now. It's basically to do with just trying to work out the functionality of the canopy and how to lay it out. The secondary build, which is what you will see now, that's more to do with improving on the functionality and stepping it up a little bit. And stepping it up is, we've trialed it on a number of big trips. So we've gone through the Gulf with this, we've gone through the Simpson Desert with this, we've done a couple of internal Queensland or outback Queensland trips, outback New South Wales trips, northern New South Wales trips, high country New South Wales, a couple of Fraser Islands, etc. And on every one of those you learn a little bit, and then we modify this to suit, and that's what's happened now. So this is pretty well how it's going to stay. There are a couple of little things that we will add over time, depending on budget, but ultimately this is done in the way I wanted it to work now, and pretty well will stay this way. In relation to parts, look, I don't have an issue with parts or products with outlining who they are, and if they're good products I will say so. If they're not so good products, I'm equally have no problem in saying they're poor. I will highlight them, I will point them out, and I will say which ones are great or which ones are not. But just be aware, none of the products on this vehicle have been given to me or are sponsored. There's no sponsorship agreements in place for anything on this vehicle. So any stickers or any labeling you see or any marketing material you may see or seem to assume it's marketing material, it is not a sponsored part. Every single thing on this vehicle has come out of my own pocket. There is some things I was able to get better prices for, a slightly better discount, but I have paid for everything on this vehicle myself, and that's how we like to do it. So let's start by going through the vehicle. So I think we'll try and start probably here, and that's only because this is the most basic. So this is the major storage area, and the major storage area is basically for us to carry our bulk equipment. Now initially I had this partitioned with shelves and etc., and I actually found it to be not very conducive to being able to have that flexibility of putting larger or smaller items in different locations. Okay, so on this side here, what you see is a very large storage compartment. So it's just a big open space. Now directly below this box here is a lithium battery setup, again, that I've put together myself. So there's 220 amp hour lithiums, a total of 240 amps that are underneath that. Now the finish height of that box actually is very intentional. They're designed to mirror or match storage containers or storage boxes that go into here. So this is the exact same finishing height, so that when the storage boxes for spare parts and things like that actually sit there, that we don't necessarily need to get very much, finish everything on a level plane, and then from here up it's just open storage. In most cases I do go on my own. The personal belongings go in the back seat, so clothing and everything I actually take the seat out. My clothing and everything goes in there, but as far as this is the primary storage where everything goes. We will go into detail a little bit on what you're seeing on this side on the opposite. Now there is one change that will happen on this side, or one thing that will be added into it, and that is that I'm either considering on this side or the other side putting an electric boiler. At the moment I have a gas powered heater, water heater, and that's fantastic, but it requires me to carry a gas bottle, and I'm trying to get away from having a gas bottle. So if we can do that by going full electric, then that is a preferred option. Given the size of the battery bank I've got, electric heating is not an issue. We've got two 50 amp outlets in the back here. That's basically for charging things, etc., whatever I may need power for on this side rather than the other. The vent that you see at the top is connected to the fridge on the other side. I'll explain more in detail, but basically when the fan comes on to cool the fridge, that fan also comes on, and any excess temperature that is built up on the other side gets pushed into this compartment. I didn't want to vent this to the exterior elements, because no matter how much you filter it, you generally do get dust in it. Every single trip I've done, I've never had any dust in this thing. It is absolutely dust proof. So if anybody's asking how good a Canopy to build motor body build, it is very good. They do have some great advantages. It's extremely light, and I will go into a bit more detail, but that's actually in the original on the Canopy. But as far as dust sealing is 100%. We've never had dust ingress into it, and we don't want it. So hence why I'm rather push the heat across into this compartment. The box below, that one is where the air compressor houses. So I've got a ARB compressor in there, and under the body there's a tank, which I'll show you what that is. But I've just carried the inflation hose and deflation kits and everything in there. Again, it is waterproof, so we don't have any issues. That's the primary filler for the fuel tank, and over here is for the secondary. So I've got dual tanks under this, so it's a factory shank at the rear and a Brown Davis underneath the centre of the car, which is actually split in two parts, and that's where the fill points are, so they haven't changed. This one here is a custom job. I brought it out because, as every 70 series owner is aware, they're a long way back, makes it very difficult to fill, so I've brought it out with a bit of a custom design and done that, and it works really well. I've had no issues. Okay, so on the same side of the vehicle, as one of the accessories, this is a 23-0 shower tent. It's independent. As far as there's no requirement, you can put pegs in the base as you can with all others. Look, all of these tents are fantastic. Obviously there was an initial design and a lot of these have been copied since off the initial design. They all do the job. Some are better quality than others, no question, but I've had this for a while now. I've used it and I've never had an issue with it. They're silver lined inside, so they have a silver lining inside, and they've also got some storage pockets at the end. One of the things I do like about this is it actually has a lockout system, so these can't collapse. If you have children, I would possibly recommend, just in case they do pull on this, there is a chance that these could buckle. They only are only aluminium arms. One of the things you could do is just put a little hole and put a tent pole under there just to support it so that they can't pull it down, but I've not had that need or found that to be an issue. Alright, so as I was saying, the vehicle specific, so we just quickly packed up the shower tent so you can specifically see the vehicle. There's a lot of modifications to it, and we will try and make additional videos that show specifics like suspension, etc. But for the moment, the connection here is a waterproof Anderson connection. That one is designed for a solar input, and the reason I have it on that side is because the other side is where you make your meals, you have your kitchen, your main access point storage. By having it here, I can put the blanket on the roof, or I can put it over into the, away from the vehicle on a substantial lead. I think I've got about 10 and a 15 or something like that configuration, so and it's not going to be trodden on all the time. Shower tent, we know up here we have a shovel, and we've also got Tread Pros, look, personal preference, I very rarely used them. I had Max Tracks for a while. I very rarely used them as well. In all honesty, in most cases that I have used them was to help other people and occasionally level out our camper trail when we had it, but by and large I don't need it. The shovel holder, for people interested in, this is a product, a Rhino product. It locks it in, stops people from taking the shovel off the roof. We've lost one in the past. So clear view mirrors, they're the original style, so they've been on the vehicle now for about it'd be 6 years or 5 years. I have to say they're great for being able to see, but I haven't been terribly impressed with their performance. They are starting to rattle a bit. Admittedly, the vehicle has gone through corrugations quite substantial, but they are starting to rattle inside. I have to have a look at them when I get a chance, possibly some adjustment to do. And I also find that during heavy corrugations they do extend, so over time they do slide out and you're forever having to open your window, reach out and push them back in. So it's just one of those things, a bit unfortunate. AirTech snorkel, straight up TGM product. Yeah, it's been really good, no problems. At the time I got this one fitted because the ARB equivalent that was on the market and most others weren't actually that size, so they didn't have that intake capacity and that size RAM. And the thing is, these are a big motor. They're 4.5 litre V8. They do draw a fair bit of air to get them moving, so you want them. As far as the tyres are concerned, the tyres are Maxxis Razor mud terrains. They're fairly new. I've had the Mickey Thompsons on there, the 305 70s, but I actually now changed to the Maxxis Razor. The Mickeys lasted about 80,000 k, but we changed to the Maxxis. I've heard a lot of good things about them, want to trial them out and see how they go, and so far so good. They're nice and quiet, a lot quieter than Mickey Thompsons ever were. And I also want a narrower profile, so not the height, so the height's still the same, but I wanted a narrower tyre. I just found that the size of the vehicle and the weight, having a little bit of a narrow tyres actually helps it a lot, and especially on the steering, it makes it a lot easier, a lot more comfortable to drive. So under the engine bay, some of this people have already seen. There isn't really much that I've changed. So up until now, I haven't even altered the vehicle's tune. It is still a factory tune at this point. That is about to change, but I just wanted to ensure the warranty period was well and truly out. So a couple of things, there's been some comments. I have made a video on fitting these fans. They've now been on this vehicle for a substantial period of time, including the Simpson Desert trip, and I can tell you they do make a considerable difference. So have a look at that video. I'll try and post it somewhere on the screen, or the link for it, or in the comments, so you guys can have a look. So on this side here, we've got a fuel filter, and that fuel filter is the primary filter. So anything coming in will actually go through that filter first, and then go around into the factory filter before to the engine. So this should take out any primary sort of contamination before it ever gets to the factory, because one of the issues is, as everybody knows, by the time it gets to the factory filter, it's game over. Relays here are for those fans, the fuses equally, so I tried to keep them. J-Max brake booster, so this is the upgrade, or part of the upgrade, to stop this vehicle safely. One of the things that I find somewhat concerning at times is some of the GBM upgrades do not actually address the brakes, and I'm always a bit concerned, especially with these vehicles which have fairly poor braking to begin with. So this has rectified that. Down here is the second stage manufacturing plate, and original one, and then the blue plate is for the secondary fuel tank, which is a separate thing. On the opposite side here, nothing much has changed or been added to it at all. So we just got some relays and stuff for the lights. The wiring looms runs off from the back here to the red arc BCDC in the back of the vehicle, and the four breather kits are fitted to the back of it, and that's really it. Now the struts, yeah, they were an aftermarket addition, again preferable to having to put a stick under it. As far as the bonnet is concerned, that's probably the question I get the most. Yes, it is the later model bonnet. I changed it from the current model to this later model. I just believe it's a much better bonnet. It has a much bigger air intake, and cannot possibly be a negative thing for the vehicle. Directly above, roof rack. It's a Pioneer platform. Pioneer's had a bit of a shocking history over the last 12-18 months, and probably rightly deserved. Unfortunately, I think one of the things that has been overlooked is that the actual Pioneer platforms aren't bad. The Rhino products are not bad. Where the Rhino products really come into their own is they've been around for a while. They've proven themselves to be reliable. I think the modernisation of vehicles with riveting roof racking to a roof is something that should never occur. I think you're asking for trouble. But these sort of ones here, they're specific to having actual legs which clamp onto the gutter, and I can tell you now, I've never had to move, and we've had some considerable amount of weight on there. The sunshade over the roof, or over the windshield, that is again an aftermarket product, eBay. Can't even remember who it was or what did it, but yeah. So this is all of the lights on, so even in broad daylight it's almost impossible to look at it, and it does work extremely well at night too. So yeah, well, it certainly does its job. Okay, so to do the interior of the vehicle, the first thing you see is the throttle controller. Then you will see the display readout that comes from the OBD2. Now I've actually bought an OBD-MX, very good product. I've had this in a number of vehicles, so I've obviously bought the updated version since. So one thing worth noting with the OBD socket on these, the onboard diagnostic 2 socket is usually just below the dash there, where the footrest is, my apologies, and that actually leads to contact with boots. And if you've got large feet, 12 or 13, you will push a lot of mud into it. So I've actually relocated it. The wiring harness is well and truly long enough to do it, and it makes it very secure up there. So just a case of taking that plate off, relocating it, and then putting it into that slot and fitting it. The Sony head unit, there's an extensive video on YouTube on that one. Above, I've got the overhead console with 2 UHFs and a few other things. But as I said, we will be doing a fully and quite extensive car interior video in the very near future, as it isn't quite finished yet. I've still got some custom seats coming for the car. As we all know, the seats aren't very good. Yeah, thank you for watching part 1 of a 2-part series of my VDJ build. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching.